Well, good morning and a happy new year to you all. I trust that you had a peaceful Christmas, if a somewhat restrictive one. This is the first thought for the week for 2021, so again, you are very welcome. For this morning, I would like to read from Isaiah 1, verse 22, and it goes, "Once like pure silver, you have become worthless slag. Once so pure, you are now like watered down wine." Strange words. But before we go into this in more detail, let us fast forward to Jesus' first miracle. Jesus was to unveil his miraculous powers for the first time at a wedding, the wedding feast at Cana, where, to the intense embarrassment of the wedding hosts, the consumption of wine had far exceeded the supply, and so the wine had run out. And this was to be a matter of great social consternation and embarrassment for the family. And then Jesus stepped forward, and to his disciples and the wedding steward's amazement, he turns mere water into wine. Jesus transformed the ordinary and the mundane into something extraordinary and, well, delightful. Jesus saved the day. And in contrast to this, if we read the first chapter of Isaiah, the people of ancient Jerusalem centuries earlier, we find had done almost the opposite. They had turned their wine into water, metaphorically. In Isaiah 1 verse 22 it says, in a text that speaks out against a rebellious nation, "Once like pure silver you have become worthless slag. Once so pure you are now like watered down wine." For you see, morally and spiritually, the people of Jerusalem were no longer what they used to be. Back in their heyday, they were known for being faithful. They were the home of justice and righteousness. They were once like pure silver. But sadly, slag had polluted their silver and water had seeped into their wine. They had become morally impure and spiritually corrupt. And this probably didn't happen all at once. It was not as if the inhabitants of Jerusalem had woken up one morning and decided to be unfaithful, to be unjust, unrighteous. In all probability, there had been a slow erosion of standards, a growing carelessness about details, and a gradual blurring of distinctives. Murderers were not dealt summarily. Thieves attained a social standing. Bribery was widespread and excused. And caring for the needy, well, it ran a poor second to paying attention to the wealthy and greedy. You see, it started at the top and worked its way down until the whole culture was polluted and diluted. And the result, well, we can glean that God was outraged. He took decisive action and announced that he would deal with this corruption personally. For God's purpose was to restore his people's purity. And in verses 25 and 26 it says, "I will melt you down and skim off your slag. I will remove all your impurities. Afterwards I will give you good judges and wise counselors like the ones you used to have. Then Jerusalem will again be called the home of justice and the faithful city." And these promises, of course, would be fulfilled only when the Messianic kingdom was finally established. And what God promised long ago to do for the city of Jerusalem, he promises today to do so for the individual. When God sees silver turning to slag and wine to water through the erosion of standards and spiritual carelessness and poor moral discipline, well, God speaks out. He promises to deal firmly in order to cleanse and to restore. And his discipline is not vindictive in nature, it is restorative. His judgment is not spawned through mere anger, it is born out of love. His intention is to redeem the repentant, those who turn away from sin and turn to God with a new trust. For such a people, God will deslag the silver and rewind the water. Such is his grace. But there is a warning, not so for the unrepentant. This is something they will never experience. Their silver will remain slag, and their wine turns to water. And we read towards the end of Isaiah chapter 1, it reads, they will be like an oak with faded leaves, like a garden without water. They will become like tinder playing with sparks. And then the final line, with no one to quench their fire. With no one to quench their fire. And so we finish on that rather somber and sobering note. And so until next time, God bless and goodbye.